Saturday, the 27th of June 2020. This is our next bulletin on the labour legal system from the Democratic Alliance. Today we will discuss disaster and fraud within the UIF, the problems people are experiencing at the UIF and at the UIF offices, the problems with liability arising out of illness contracted at the workplace and the workmen's compensation, and finally, how the government is trying to stifle oversight and push blame onto others. I am Michael Bagram, the Democratic Alliance Labour spokesperson. I'm assisted by the Democratic leadership, the Democratic Alliance leadership, and in all my endeavours, I have had fantastic help from our leadership within the Democratic Alliance, and I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank all my colleagues, and today I want to make a special mention of one of my colleagues who has always helped me, like they're helping hundreds of others. The Democratic Alliance parliamentarians are literally working around the clock, helping people through this pandemic. Hundreds of people write to me daily, and all I do is I try and contact my colleagues to help, and I try and contact the relevant officials to help, and I try and put pressure on government to deliver what they're supposed to deliver in the first place. These are hundreds and hundreds of people who are looking for help, and we're trying our utmost to help them. I make special mention of MP Bridget Masanga, who, like Queen Deborah of the Old Testament, is fighting the good fight. She is helping all those who have had the misfortune of the disaster happening at Sasa. And I thank you, Bridget. I know I've been putting some pressure on you, but I thank you for all the hard work that you're doing in helping the citizens of South Africa. There is absolutely maladministration in hundreds of departments throughout the country. And we need to make sure that we continue with the oversight and we continue helping the citizens of South Africa. It was reported about a week ago by the Minister of Employment and Labour that many employers were holding money back from their employees, from the TERS payments that they're receiving. The Minister tried to shift the blame of the maladministration onto the employers. Well, when we asked the Minister to name and shame these companies that are holding the money back, there was nothing but silence. The Minister did not come forward and tell us which companies were holding the money back. And I, for one, wanted to know who these companies were so that we could hold them liable. The staff are suffering and they're not getting their money. And if the Minister's saying the monies have been paid over to the companies, well, then we want to see those monies moved across to the employees. And so it would be good to name and shame, but no, the Minister was silent. I think it's a non-existent claim, because what has happened and what has come forward is that we've seen that there's some internal fraud. We've just seen an anecdotal story where an individual received just under 7 million rand. It could have been well planned beforehand, because within minutes most of that money was disbursed and couldn't be found. We are looking for a fraud internal investigation into the UIF, and hopefully we can find out who the people are. Most of the UIF offices are now open, thank God. They were closed right throughout the pandemic, but now they're open. But we're experiencing real problems. The offices are inundated with people. We're seeing horrendous problems arise, and we're seeing what is typically happening. Anecdotally, one individual from Durban, Phoenix in Durban, reported to me, and he said in various letters to me what is typical of happening across the country. And I want to quote from him, and I quote, "The rude and arrogant staff are slower than sloths and move at their own pace when and how it suits them. Our country is failing. They take tea breaks, lunch breaks, smoke breaks, tea breaks again, and do not work for more than 3 hours a day. This member of the public, who happens to be a doctor, also reports that there are no protocols or restrictions in place. I mean, that's really strange from the Department of Employment and Labour. I quote from another report I received from another citizen of South Africa. By last count, 87 calls to the UIF and no resolution. 47 emails to help, no resolution. Many emails, many times online. The centre does not reply. Not even a mail to say thanks for trying. I am at my wit's end. There are now hundreds of people who are contacting me about contracting the virus at work. They are trying to blame the employer for not following the regulations and protocols. I fully understand this. Most employers are following the regulations and protocols, but if you're not, please do. We're going to find that the Department of Labour, through the workmen's compensation, is going to try and blame the employer and try and shift the blame completely away from workmen's compensation. That's going to be a real problem in the future. We don't want that blame to be shifted. We don't want blame at all. Please follow the protocols and regulations as laid down by the Department of Health. The madness continues. We're going to see many, many people trying to shift blame away from the maladministration of our government. So thank you for listening to me today. Obviously, I intend to keep you updated. The DA strives to let everyone know the truth and to keep on doing the oversight. Despite government trying to stifle that oversight, many of my colleagues are being harassed not to conduct that oversight. This is Michael Bagram, Labour spokesperson from the Democratic Alliance, Saturday, the 27th of June 2020. I thank you for listening to me.